Oh yes, Wednesday edition of Schein Time. Jayson Tatum speaks before his return to Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. We'll tell you why the Knicks and Celtics is a massive deal for the Knicks tomorrow. On other nights, more Yankees magic. Calendar reads April, feels like October. And we're less than 24 hours away from the Masters. Time to lock in our picks, predictions, and bets. Schein Time starts right now.
To go back and play there. Last time I played there, obviously it was a traumatic, experience for me. Obviously I knew at some point I would have to, get over that hurdle and, play there again. So it's gonna have to be this Thursday, but it's not like I'm thrilled about it.
It is amazing when you stop and think about it. And I think it's important to kind of start here and stress this. Jayson Tatum being back at Madison Square Garden this regular season is amazing. And he deserves so much credit. I know he's the enemy if you're a Knicks fan and you're watching, but never in a million years did I think that he was going to be back this regular season. This felt like a quintessential gap year for the Boston Celtics. And, man, even before Tatum came back, the Celtics were in cruise control. They were dominant. They were outstanding. And now that Tatum's back, it's obviously something where you look at the Celtics and say, they are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. But go back to this, and you see Jayson Tatum, and honestly, I feel sick just looking at it. Rupturing that Achilles, it's painful, it's awful, the agony on his face, the screams, knowing how instrumental he is to the Celtics' success, and also a true dominant, amazing face of the NBA. Even as a Knicks fan, that was devastating because you knew that was the case. And all credit to him in terms of the rehab and the persistence and getting back earlier than anybody expected. And now the Boston Celtics with Jayson Tatum, they're the favorites in Vegas, and it's not even close when you look at it. And you take a look at what Tatum has done since the return from the injury, and you see the shooting percentage is starting to go up, and you look at the bottom there, what he does against the Knicks in his career, and Boston has won 4 straight, and you kind of get the feeling as if tomorrow is a massive deal for the Knicks. Like, I don't want to sit here and go nuts, but you know what? As Costanza once said when he was driving Susan's parents to the fake house in the Hamptons, you know what? Let's get nuts. I think tomorrow night is a pretty massive deal here for the Knicks because I was so inspired by what the Knicks did against an excellent, well-coached Atlanta Hawks team, a confident Hawks team. And not only that they won the other night, how they won. We talked about this at length yesterday, and I want to stress it here in preparation for the ball game tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden, going up against the Boston Celtics. It was the two-man game. It was Cat. It was Brunson. And the way that they worked together, the pick and roll, the confidence, the way the role players were brilliant around them. And what I loved is you saw these guys absolutely rock and roll, making shot after shot, bucket after bucket in a shot-making fourth quarter. It was kind of refreshing. It was needed. And frankly, this needs to be the norm. And this team was put together this year. And remember, the Knicks obviously fired Tom Thibodeau. They were put together to win the Eastern Conference. And there have been very few signs this year that the Knicks are capable of doing just that. Look, there was that cup of coffee week with the Spurs and the Raptors and even the close game against OKC. And then obviously the Denver game. We're like, you know what? It's there for the Knicks. You're seeing it. But honestly, after that back-to-back debacle in L.A., there was no way to really take New York too seriously. Well, honestly, I've been drinking the Kool-Aid and feeling pretty confident since what transpired against Atlanta. But I'm not going to go nuts until I see them beat Boston. because even with Cade Cunningham coming back, and that's going to happen instantly, and Stewart on the horizon, and I respect the Pistons, and I think that they are tough, and obviously they've been a thorn in the Knicks' side for a long period of time, and frankly, they could have and should have beat the Knicks last year in the first round of the playoffs. Everyone knows about the Hardaway call, and obviously the Knicks were able to win after that. I'm not eliminating Detroit, and I'm not eliminating Atlanta, but I think it's going to still come down to the Knicks and the Boston Celtics when it's all said and done. And Boston, to me, the massive favorite, which is why when you start searching and reaching for reasons why you can trust New York to win the Eastern Conference, which is how they were put together and why they were put together and why they made the change with Tom Thibodeau and here's Mike Brown, I don't think it's exaggeration to call tomorrow night's game a massive one for the New York Knicks. How about this? Our guy Steph Bondy covers the Knicks for the New York Post, and he makes his Schein Time debut right now. Steph, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. I mean, you took all the words out of my mouth. It was an excellent, I like the Seinfeld reference. You gave Jayson Tatum his flowers, and very deserved. I mean, in an era when you have these players resting as long as they can to maximize their career earnings, he makes sure he comes back. And you're right. I mean, the Boston Celtics are the team to beat.
Well, let's hit on all this. And I feel compelled to start because you were there, you covered it, you wrote about it, with Tatum. Let's go back, right? And, you know, he's making that MSG return, first time since that ruptured Achilles. And frankly, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that he's even out there. What a credit to him. Give Boston credit, the trainers, the doctors, Joe Mazzulla, Brad Stevens. I want you to go back to that night at Madison Square Garden, your reaction covering it, and did you expect to see him back this season?
Well, first, as a person who tore his own Achilles, I knew exactly what happened right away. And there is a little bit of a misnomer. One is that because Jayson Tatum tore his Achilles, that's why the Knicks won that series. The Knicks were going to win that series anyway.
That's right. That's right.
They were up big in that game. They had control of that series. That series really shifted in Boston during those games 1 and 2 miracles. But you know, as far as Tatum coming back, I am surprised. You know, I said it before, this is a day and age when players take as long as possible, you know, based on the medical staff's recommendations. They want to maximize how much money they make. They're always thinking about the next season and the next contract. Here's Jayson Tatum. You know, he obviously wanted to play. He saw that Boston was playing really well. He sees the opportunity to really go for it again. And props to him. Kudos to him, because the windows of these guys, it's really small. And for him to come back and try to, you know, supplement what Jaylen Brown's been doing, because Jaylen Brown's been tremendous this year, I think it's, you know, it's commendable. Because, you know, listen, Tyrese Halliburton, he could come back. He could have came back, but he didn't want. He decided very early on, I'm not coming back. I remember Kevin Durant tore his Achilles. He could have possibly come back for the bubble, the bubble playoffs. He decided not to. So for Jayson Tatum to do it, it's definitely commendable. Absolutely,
without question. Now, you have an amazing piece up right now on Post Sports Plus about Jaylen Brown wanting to be the Knicks villain. And by the way, I love rivalries. I love real hate. So this to me is healthy. It's New York, Boston. I think it's great. Take us through what you wrote for Post Sports Plus.
Yeah, I mean, basically I said this has to be earned. He's trying to speak it into existence. He's been needling Knicks fans and the Knicks for a full year now. But he probably saw Trae Young get all this popularity and be on the WWE show, and then he saw Tyrese Halliburton. It's lucrative to be the villain in Madison Square Garden. He has not earned that status yet. He's a great player. He has not done it on the court. In fact, his worst performances in the last year have come against the Knicks. The games 1 and 2 in the collapse, and then he had a terrible, I think it was game 5. It was just game 6 maybe. He was just terrible in that elimination game. So, and then he had his hair fall off against OG Anunoby, which was pretty embarrassing. So he's not quite a villain on the court. But he wants to be the villain, and that was kind of the gist of the column, is that has to be earned, and maybe he can start tomorrow night.
Listen, it's obviously big for him in that regard. I thought it was a very fair take and a tremendous column. And look, I'm also kind of obsessed with your article on Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, what they did against Atlanta, specifically at the end of the game. And we talked about it before you came on. We talked about it yesterday. I feel like we saw it the same way. And I feel like it was a big deal. It was awesome if you're a Knicks fan, but I kind of need to see more. So take us through why it happened, how it happened, and how come it doesn't happen more.
I don't have answers for two of those. But unfortunately, I mean, listen, when you got these two together, this was what you wanted. This is why you got these two together. They're not going to be great on defense. You know that. So what they have to make up with it with their offensive brilliance. And when you see a point guard with the skills that Jalen Brunson have, and you see a floor spacing center like Karl Anthony Towns, you're envisioning this tremendous pick and roll duo. It was a lot better last season. And for reasons I don't understand, and I wish I could tell you why, it has not been great this season. But, you know, in Atlanta, they went to it all in the beginning. It looked great. And then they definitely went to it in the final 4 minutes when Karl Anthony Towns came back in the game, and it was just a dynamo. He came in, they were trailing by 5. They spammed the play over and over again. Same play. Worked every time. And that's kind of what the Knicks need from your two best offensive players. In a playoff setting, when the game slows down and you're in half-court sets, how are you going to win games? With pick and rolls, with isolations, off those pick and rolls, and getting the right switches that you want and the matchups that you want and taking advantage of it. And that's what Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns can do, and that's what they did against the Atlanta Hawks.
I think tomorrow night is a rather gigantic game at Madison Square Garden. I'm curious to get your take, and I think it's one the Knicks need to have for self-confidence, believability, maybe spook the Boston Celtics a little bit. Who wins tomorrow night and why?
So here's why I disagree. I want to agree with you about the importance of this, but the Knicks were blown out all regular season last season by the Boston Celtics. And then they got to the playoffs and they won the series. And that's what you hear from these guys over and over again. And you talk about them, you talk to them publicly and privately, they say the same thing. The regular season results don't matter so much. I have a hard time believing it and understanding that because, like you said, for confidence reasons, I believe that when you would go into their next game knowing you can beat them and how to beat them, I figure that would be good for them. You know, who's going to win? I'm going to go with the Knicks.
Yeah,
I'm
I agree.
Say they're going to ride that momentum that they had in Atlanta. Boston is feeling real good about themselves. I know that they have an extra edge and they want revenge for what happened in the playoffs. But I think the Knicks are going to come and do a lot of what they did in Atlanta and be able to exploit some of Boston's deficiencies.
I want to ask you about Giannis because he's obviously in the news cycle. It's always a topic for conversation. And Knicks fans are always wondering, Steph, and you've been all over this. So, look, he's not going to be in Milwaukee. I mean, I'm just going to be stunned if he's playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't necessarily see a match 1-for-1 in terms of the teams. Obviously, you can start talking about getting a second team, a third team, a fourth team involved. What are the chances Giannis is a Knick this offseason?
I'm not going to put odds on it, but there is a chance. I mean, if the Knicks underperform in the playoffs and are eliminated early, there are going to be changes. And whether that's changes, hiring and firing people in the front office or even the coaching staff, I don't know, but one of the options is to just overhaul the roster. And the one way you can sell, this is how we're going to do it, this is how we're going to get better, a lot better, is getting Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I always thought it was unrealistic for the Knicks to do that in the middle of the season because they didn't have the assets to do it. After the season, they are able to trade more draft picks because of the rules where you have to have certain amount of draft picks that you cannot trade. That they have more that become available in the summer that weren't available to them during the regular season. So they could put together a more compelling package. If I'm the Bucks, though, I'm making this an exhaustive search. I'm trying to extract as many picks and as many great players as possible. I'm trying to get as many teams involved as possible. So the only way I could really see this happening is if Giannis forces their hand and says, I want to go to New York. I'm going to sign that extension in New York. and he kind of uses his leverage that way. So yeah, there's a chance. I just don't know what Giannis is going to do. Giannis has been all over the place. He says one thing one day, and he says something else the next day. So it's really hard to predict.
Steph, you're the best. We appreciate the time as always. Keep up the unbelievable work covering the Knicks for the New York Post, and we'll do it again real soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Steph Bondy, he's fantastic. A must read all the time, and specifically go to that piece that he has up right now on Post Sports Plus. It's incredible. Phenomenal column on Brown and how big a spot this is if he wants to be the Knicks villain tomorrow night at MSG. From playoff contenders to tanking pretenders, Draymond Green has just entered the chat with his feelings on how the league is handling tanking teams.
I saw a team tonight foul Seth Curry with 3 minutes to go in the game for no reason. In the penalty. I get fined when I do wrong. Just fine the hell out of people. You know, we love taking money from players. Keep fining the teams. I've seen 2 fines. And we all know everybody tanking. But you've seen 2 fines. You know? If it was players, we snatched that money in a heartbeat. Why isn't it the same?
Draymond's right. Say what you want about Draymond Green. Love him or loathe him. He nailed this. Absolutely nailed this. The tanking epidemic is a problem in the NBA. And he's right. One way to stop it is every single night, fine, 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 fine. Listen, they have to get rid of the draft lottery. It's the devil in disguise. It has ruined the NBA. And if these teams don't want to compete and don't want to play, then honestly, why are they even here? You look at the bad teams in the NBA, it has ruined the sport. And I'm not an NBA hater. I love watching the NBA. We just had the show with the Monster Game tomorrow with the Knicks and the Celtics, and we talk NBA on Schein Time all the time. But here's the problem. Take a look at the standings. Take a look at these teams. Take a look at the fact that the Utah Jazz and the Memphis Grizzlies and the Pelicans and the Mavericks and the Kings, night in, night out, they have no interest in winning. They play to lose the game. Hello, reverse Herm Edwards. That's unbelievable. And in the East, it's worse. The Brooklyn Nets, who have a fabulous head coach, they obviously, and that's why they win more games than they should, because they're coached up brilliantly by Jordi Fernandez. I mean, Nets fans go nuts when they win games. It kills the ping pong balls. You know, the Pacers, you just heard what Steph Bondy said, Halliburton could come back. He's not, because they want to try and cheat the system, right? They want to cheat the system because Halliburton got hurt. They punted the season. And if the Pacers end up getting a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, they're going to be back in contention to go to the NBA Finals at 2026, 2027. I mean, look at all those teams in the East. Nobody is trying to win. The Bulls aren't trying to win. Nobody. The Washington Wizards? Are you kidding me? They've been tanking for 20 years. It's an embarrassment. You have 12 teams in the NBA that would rather lose than win. That is a problem. And then you start getting into issues in terms of people watching and fans going to games and who's going to show up, where you don't even know what to do anymore if you're a fan, or you do what I do for a living, when it comes to making a big deal about a game. Does it matter? And a lot of ways, that's the difference between baseball, where every player plays for 162, the NHL, where every single game matters, and the NBA, where players just, I'm good. Teams are like, forget about it. Let's get them next year. Get rid of the draft. Get rid of the NBA draft. It has killed the regular season. Get rid of the draft, shorten the season, get rid of back-to-backs, make adjustments. And if that sounds radical, great. Because baseball did it. Think about what they did with the pitch clock. Think about what they did with the extra playoff teams. Think about what they did with the DH in both leagues. Think about what they did getting rid of the shift. Sometimes you have to take a look at what is, not what was, what is and what's going to be. And everything Draymond Green said was right. The tanking, the lack of competitive games, it's killing the NBA. And it's almost like you get a unicorn game here or there where you kind of feast your eyes and say, that's must see. That's unbelievable. Let's make a big deal about the winner or the loser. Doesn't exist on a regular basis. We showed you those games on Monday, Schein Time, where Friday night was a joke. You had 6 games that were waste of time. I mean, lopsided affairs. And even going in, the point spreads in those games were 12 to 20 points because you knew that the other teams were not only inferior, they didn't care. Look at what the Bucks are doing with Giannis. The whole thing is an embarrassment to professional sports and the fabric of what's supposed to be. Draymond Green, unlikely voice of reason. He nailed it. And it's something that Adam Silver really needs to pay attention to. To the PGA now, where all eyes are on the Masters. Rory is talking about defending his title and how the one-time upstart is now a wily vet at Augusta.
I'm not sure when Tom was born, but, Mason was born, 2005? No, 2008?
I didn't see that's right.
Yeah, I just think about the time span that's why our game is so incredible. And yeah, I've been very lucky that the people that I looked up to took me under their wing when I was starting off.
I love that clip from Rory. I also love when he talked about how, he feels different than last year. Obviously, got that proverbial monkey off his back, the elusive green jacket, finally able to win the Masters. And that was obviously such an emotional and special and a historic moment for him. I think there's a real shot Rory can do it again. It was interesting when he said, the pressure's off and the mentality's different. And I'm watching that going, is that a negative? And then instantly, next breath, he said, well, the urge to win is still there like nothing else. So I do think that he can be relaxed. There's no question about that, and still find a way to go out and take care of business. Look, it doesn't matter if you're a massive golf fan, if you just like the majors, there's nothing like Augusta. There's nothing like the Masters. And we've got a whole slew of picks for you. I am going to go out on a massive limb with who's going to win this year. You ready? Scotty Scheffler. But you can get it at plus 510, according to our good friends over at DraftKings. So, look, we'll parlay this. And by the way, if we hit, I'm not showing up at work on Monday. I'm just telling you that right now. Schedule a replacement. There's no way I'm showing up on Monday. The entire team is off. Rich is off. Sam's off. Juliana's off. No one has to show up at work tomorrow on Monday if this parlay hits. I'm just telling you that right now. Now, in terms of the actual individual bets, yeah. Scotty at plus 510? Why not? Rory, I think, based upon his play in the comments, I think that a top 10 finish makes sense. I thought about Bryson DeChambeau as my winner. I think he's amazing for golf. I know he can rub some people the wrong way. I think Bryson is amazing. He gets it like no other. Sometimes that course can be a bit of a bugaboo for him. I think he's ready to rock and roll. I like my Oberg pick in terms of the top 5 finish. I think that Ludwig's going to be able to take care of business. And you always need a sleeper to finish in the top 10. And again, I would bet these individually. I'd go with our good friend Bobby McIntyre to finish in the top 10. Those will be the picks, predictions, bets. And again, I'm just telling you right now, if this parlay hits plus 55,000, I'm not coming to work on Monday. Rich isn't coming to work on Monday. Juliana's not coming to work on Monday. Sam's not coming to work on Monday. It's time to shine on baseball, where everything is coming up rosy for the Yankees.
He's become beloved in that room in short order, and I think they all get thrilled by his successes too. And obviously we're waiting on him. He's the last one out on the field doing interviews and things like that. So when he came in, guys were pretty fired up.
Yeah, he's great. High energy guy. He's funny. So again, goes out there to something like that tonight. We don't win that game without him.
Great to have someone like him on the team. He never had like a bad day. He always with high energy. So it's great. It's good for the club. It's good for him and good for everyone.
The New York Yankees lead the league in fun. And I don't think I've ever said that about an Aaron Boone-managed team. watching the Yankees to start this season, man, it is so good for the sports soul. So last night, obviously in New York, it was freezing. My son Theo had his first Little League game of the year, and I mean, I was frigid. I was already annoyed that I'm cold, and I'm going to get home a little after the Yankee start, so I'm going to miss the beginning, just the very beginning of Cam Schlittler, who's must-see TV. And the Yankees are losing 3-1. And you know what? Oh, well. Cold nights in the Bronx, the wind is blowing, you know, credit the A's, one of those games, attaboy, on to the next. And then Stanton has that RBI. And then Ahmed Rosario cranks a no doubt about it second bomb of the game. Are you kidding me? And I love the celebration, the joy, the jubilation. Chucks the bat, grabs the shirt, goes nuts at the dugout. You heard Boone and Schlittler talk about the impact that he has on the clubhouse. Great locker room guy, great bubbly presence. You need that. Also, kind of need a stick right now at third base because Ryan McMahon can't hit water if you fell out of a boat. 2 hits for Ryan McMahon on the season so far. So credits Boone, and I don't often do that, playing the hot hand. Right lineups are out there. Give him a ton of credit. And the New York Yankees were able to get a victory and wrestle that away from the jaws of defeat. And I love what I saw from Schlittler last night. And in a game where he gave up 3 runs, first 3 runs that he gave up all season long. Listen, just amazing that he was able to have 7 strikeouts in that game, which was absolutely awesome. And you take a look at his line and how brilliant it was incredible. And on a night where gave up those runs, the strikeout to walk ratio was just off the charts, absolutely amazing. And he is must-see TV. By the way, if you're paying attention, I know that you are. I get all your tweets. I get all the posts on Instagram. Yeah, the bets and the parlay hits. Yankees had to win by 2. They did. And Schlittler hit the over on strikeouts. You're welcome, America and Canada. And I just love what I'm seeing from these Yankees. I love how momentum is as great as the next day starting pitcher. What Schlittler does is just great for the sports soul. How about the back page of the New York Post? Club Ahmed. I LOL'd on the train this morning. That was about as great as it gets. There's something special going on in the Bronx air right now. It's early. I don't give a damn because the Yankees, who did not have a great offseason, needed a hot start. And again, I picked them to win the East. I picked them to go to the World Series. But this team, on the heels of the offseason, the heels of last year, they needed to inspire early. That they're winning, how they're winning, and the fact that it's like 40 degrees outside, it feels like October. I can't get enough of what I'm seeing from my New York Yankees. A couple of the Yankees' rivals are reeling. One of them, the Blue Jays, whose manager, John Schneider's head almost popped off his body during an argument last night. Take a look at this.
I hope you're bad lip readers.
My goodness, unbelievable. When it rains, it pours. I mean, the Toronto Blue Jays right now are on a 6-game losing streak. And it's one thing when you lose back-to-back games to the Dodgers. It's another thing when you get swept by the Chicago White Sox, which is illegal in most states and countries. I mean, we're all looking for reasons where America and Canada can agree. I think we all can agree. You can't get swept by the Chicago White Sox. That's a bit of an international incident. Let's be clear about that. And this World Series rematch has been no match on the actual Diamonds. You saw 14-2. That was incredible for LA on Monday. Then you take a look at what transpired last night. Crisp and clean Yamamoto domination, and honestly, it was just awesome. And the way the Dodgers won, Yamamoto was brilliant. I love the game, the fact that the game was on TBS, a nationally televised game. Get the buzz for the World Series rematch. Love what I saw from the Dodgers bullpen last night. How about Yamamoto gave up that double, the infield single. Vesia comes in, walks a guy, bases loaded, gets 3 outs to get out of it. He was going nuts, and I loved it. And then Blake in the 8th inning, and then Edwin Diaz. I mean, the former former Met, bring your own trumpet to work day. This guy's been flawless, as predicted, since he went from the Mets to the Dodgers in the offseason. You take a look at the numbers for the Dodgers bullpen, incredible. Absolutely awesome. And the Dodgers see a problem, fix a problem. And this is why it is terrific when you look at what this team does in the offseason, why I'll never say anything negative about their plan or bad for baseball this or anti-baseball that. It's pretty incredible when you take a look at what this team brings to the table in terms of an offseason, in terms of their toughness. I mean, you saw the bats get going last night. It was terrific in terms of how tough and clutch they were. Look at Kyle Tucker. 3 strikeouts last night, and then that tack-on run, the RBI to make it 4-1 in the 9th. Perfection. Absolute perfection. Shohei Ohtani got on base, a leadoff walk, 42 consecutive games. He's been on base, never, ever minimize what the great Ohtani brings to the table. He's pitching tonight. Dylan Cease, a rare Blue Jays pitcher who's not injured. He's going to be on the bump for Toronto. Boy, injury to insults, right? With, Kirk, the catcher, he got hurt last night. All the starters have been injured for this baseball team. I still think the Blue Jays can bounce back, but boy, the way they lost, Game 6, Game 7, still can't believe that they lost that World Series, ebb and flow of it. My goodness, that was really, really rough stuff when you look at it for Toronto in October. And there's been a carryover in terms of their play and their esteem. And that's why John Schneider was going nuts on that umpire. It's not about a play. It's not about a moment. It's about everything that we're seeing right now from the reigning American League champs. To the Buccos now. Isn't it great to see the Pirates pay their guy? Connor Griffin got his bag and spoke about his new contract this morning.
We're going to do a lot of great things with the players that we have, and I want to be a part of it for 9 years. I want to continue to be a part of the build of winning playoff baseball. And this is a great place for me, a great place for my family, and couldn't be more proud.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's hopefully at some point it's going to quiet down for him because I think this is his 6th day in the big league. So not every day, not every week is like this. I'm sure he'll learn, but yeah, just super happy for him and his family. Glad he got a deal that works for him, and yeah, he's going to be the face of the Pirates for a long time.
I mean, how sweet is this? Connor Griffin, who's, some combination of Mike Trout, Juan Soto, Cal Ripken Jr., Bobby Witt Jr. as a prospect. He gets called up. He didn't lose a game in his first weekend. He gets a couple of hits and a big win last night. And then you see him get rewarded today. Great press conference. Pirates are spending money. I love it. 9 for 140 for Connor Griffin. And this is so great for baseball. It's great for the health of the game, and it's great for Paul Skeens. And how about Paul Skeens, who has had this, hard luck loser kind of motif that has been attached to him since he's been a Pirate, because the Pirates are cheap and they're frugal and they don't have enough players. And last night, and by the way, he's given up 2 earned runs since the debacle against the Mets and that weird and wild and random first inning where he couldn't get out of it and O'Neill Cruz was running the wrong way. All those runs were counted as earned, which was kind of a joke. But listen, it is what it is. You see last night, Skeens is terrific. And the bats picked him up. 5-run 8th. That was a fun game with Skeens against Pavetta last night with the Pirates and the Padres. Unbelievable stuff. So the fact that the Pirates are cooking right now, I think is terrific. I think that is tremendous. And this is great when you look at it for Major League Baseball. And honestly, I can't get enough. And Griffin's worth every penny. Look, no one's tweeting me anymore. I read all the comments on the California Post Sports and the New York Post Sports YouTube. No one's telling me, oh, Adam, you're an idiot. Schein, you're a fool. How do you pick the Pirates to make the playoffs? By the way, this is great for baseball. Look at the standings page right there. Reds, Brewers, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Not big market teams, not high payroll teams. Winning teams. And I love that they gave Griffin this contract. It's great for baseball. And you hope that for Skeens, that you're looking for reasons over the next 3 years. And to me, it starts with great surrounding talent and winning. Because Paul Skeens can command any kind of contract he wants. Any contract he wants for any price. Whatever you say the dollar figure is, someone, Dodgers, Giants, Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, Phillies, Cubs, anybody will offer more. So the Pirates need to give him reasons to sign a contract over the next 3 years. This was a great day for baseball. Great day for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yesterday was a great afternoon for the Mets, who were able to get a walk-off win in extras, and that was absolutely terrific. And by the way, love the fact that the Mets, with the cold weather, playing the afternoon game. They're going to have another one today. So I just love the vibes right now and the bounce-back ability from the Mets, and especially to get a win yesterday when you consider at the end of the day what transpired with the Juan Soto injury. Look, I don't want to sit here and go nuts, but between the years and also when you look at the standings, I thought that was a big deal. And when you look at the pitching matchup for this afternoon, great opportunity to make sure you keep the train on the tracks and you have the ability here to ultimately get a victory when you look at it for the Mets this afternoon. We're nearly 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, and all the insiders starting to bang out their mock drafts. We had Daniel Jeremiah on Schein Time last week, and here's one of his takes. If he's there for the Giants at 5, should they take him?
I don't know what the record is in terms of how fast you can get a card in, but I'd be trying to break it, I think, if I were the Giants in that case. Just sprint that thing to the podium and turn in the card.
So it's interesting when you take a look at the NFL draft, and we are 2 weeks and 1 day away, and you listen to all the experts and those who study it and the media elite. I really think the New York Giants and the New York Jets have a golden opportunity to win the draft. And I want to stress this here from a New York perspective. I love our guy, Dane Brugler, who put out his annual Beast, which is a prospect ranking, and he goes in depth and in detail for The Athletic. And I had Dane on my SiriusXM radio show this morning. And take a look at the top 2 guys on Dane's list. Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love. And I want to stress this right here, right now. Arvell Reese needs to be a Jet. Jeremiah Love, if he's there, and I'm not going to kill the Giants if they go with Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, but I would absolutely draft Jeremiah Love. Let's start with the Jets for a second. Reese is the guy, and Dane studies this. And I had Matt Patricia talk to him on my SiriusXM radio show. And they have the same exact analysis. Patricia obviously was a defensive coordinator for Ohio State this past year and, coached Reese up brilliantly. He is the next Micah Parsons. And if you employ Aaron Glenn and you believe in Aaron Glenn and he's going to call the plays on defense and he maximizes defensive talent, and I believe in Aaron Glenn at least as a defensive mind, this is the guy. Like, we could sit here and debate other names and finished products and this guy, that guy. Reese is the guy. Like, let's not overcomplicate this. And you just saw Dane's rankings. He's number 1. Yeah, not Mendoza, Arvell Reese. So let's not go nuts here and start reinventing the wheel. Start talking about safe prospects. This is the guy. This is the guy you want getting to the quarterback for the next 10 years if you're a New York Jets fan. So as simple as that, do not mess around if you're the Jets. Now for the Giants, Jeremiah Love needs to be the pick if he's there. And you saw Dane's rankings. You heard what Dan Jeremiah had to say. Listen, I love Love. I love Love. I believe in Love. And if he's going to be the next Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think that he is, and he told me as much when I talked to him on my SiriusXM radio show, and he's a great kid and a great personality and a super smart guy and a great teammate, checks all the boxes, of course you draft him. By the way, I'm going to give you a take right now. If I'm the Titans, I would pick him at 4. And you could talk about Robert Saleh and pass rush until the cows come home. Robert Saleh was also in San Francisco last year and saw the impact Christian McCaffrey has on the San Francisco 49ers. And also, you know, Brian Daboll's going to be involved in that pick. You have Cam Ward. Don't really have a legit starting running back on that team. They also have to sell some tickets in Tennessee. They're going into a new stadium. They don't have anyone outside of Cam Ward who could be the guy. So I don't rule out that he won't even be there, Jeremiah Love, for the Giants with that 5th overall pick. If Jeremiah Love is there, that's the guy. That's the guy for the New York Football Giants. I love Sonny Styles. I love Caleb Downs. That is absolutely the pick for New York at 5 overall. Let's finish strong with a good old-fashioned baseball brawl.
Did you tackle Jorge?
Yeah, I mean, I love Soler. You know, we were teammates here, but that's a big man, and so I just felt I got to get him off his feet because he's going to hurt somebody.
Man, that was like a reenactment of the Schein Time production meetings. I mean, that was an old-fashioned brawl, a little brouhaha. By the way, and I'm allowed to say this because no one got hurt, that was awesome. I couldn't get enough. That was old school. By the way, how it happened, that it happened, the image of it, the whole thing was great. First of all, there's no doubt about it. Lopez hit Soler on purpose. Homer earlier in the game, and he clearly matters into his own hands. So, man, Braves are off to a hot start. A little brawl gets you going. You know, I always go back to Strawberry and Arthur Rhodes and Benitez and Graham Lloyd, Yankees, Orioles. Like, that's fun. Or Ray Knight sucker punching someone with the 86 Mets. I mean, over and over and over again. Go to the New York Post Sports YouTube page, California Post Sports YouTube page. Search Schein Time. We're going to see you tomorrow, 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific Time. Schein Time.